This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Total Red Man has ever done something like this to me!
It's, time!
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the dregs of humanity!
Welcome to the It Was a Thing on TV podcast, episode 12, submission 006. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry aired on NBC from January 26th of 1979 to April 30th of 1980 for a total of 38 episodes.
Well, hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. You talk to people all day for a living. Hello, Larry. But all those easy answers you are giving, are you really living your life that way? Portland is a long way from L.A. A long way. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Two kids to raise alone just ain't that easy. Hello, Larry. The questions they are asking aren't that breezy. The answers you are giving don't always pay, but that's the way it is with kids today. The calls are coming in, you better start to grin, cause you never know just what they're gonna say. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry. Wow, hello, Larry.
As always, I'm joined by Chico Alexander and Greg Diener, and we're looking at a show that people have actually told us, you need to cover this, and we said, whoa, slow your roll. We're going to cover it. And it just happens we're covering it today. I want to start just with the theme song. Feelings, comments?
It's an earworm. The kids would call it a bop. But I'm doing my research, and it said the death of the theme song, which is totally unfair because you had Jeff C. Frederick and Bennett Salve not 10 years later.
It is quite the earworm, and actually that's the one thing I'm when I'm seeing stuff about Hello Larry podcasts and video reviews, the one thing a lot of people say is the theme song is like so epic, and I agree. It's a great theme song. It's very catchy, but also similar to what we said in Lidsville, this does really sort of set up what the show is about or the series is about.
Yeah, I mean, again, you talk to... It's like, let's go over this line by line if we shall. Hello,
Indeed.
Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Okay,
Hello.
Yeah, Greg and I will be the backup singers. Okay.
Yep. Hello, Larry.
Hello,
Hello, Larry.
You talk to people all day for a living.
Hello,
Larry.
Larry.
Of course, he's going to talk to people all day for a living because he's a talk radio DJ. I don't think is he would you call him a radio shrink? Is that what he is? A radio shrink?
He was Frasier 15 years before Frasier was a series.
Okay, so
I think it's a fair analysis, yes.
oh yes. But all those easy answers you are giving, are you really living your life that way?
Ooh, so he's a hypocrite.
Yeah, it's like he's giving answers to questions that fit conveniently in between the commercials as radio shrinks are wont to do. Portland is a long way from LA, and again, this is a crucial plot point because Larry was, a successful psychiatrist shrink in Los Angeles before he moved to LA with, and this is where the second verse comes in, hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Two kids to raise alone just ain't that easy.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Yeah, he moved from Los Angeles to Portland. By the way, I got from our notes here, Portland is actually only 820 miles from LA.
That's still a long damn distance.
It's a 2-day trip.
Okay. Not if you gun it. Anyway, again, he moved there with his two daughters. The questions they are asking aren't that breezy. That's like...
Hello, Larry.
Now, there's not a Hello Larry there. Read the script.
Oh, okay.
The answers you're giving don't always pay, but that's the way it is with kids today. But yeah, it's like Larry's job, he has those problems that fit nice and neat in between the commercials on the radio show. When he comes home, his $2 have a little bit more to ask about life, the universe, and everything.
And we'll get to that in a little bit, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Going into the end here, the calls are coming in. Yeah, better start to grin, because you never know just what they're going to say.
Hello,
Hello,
Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello,
Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Well, hello, Larry. And that is the theme song. Again, very expository. That last bit is just self-explanatory right there, because you really don't know what's gonna say. Like, this show is basically Frasier with kids.
Well, also, I want to add that was the first season lyrics, because there was a slight change in the second season, and we're going to get also into that later, the changes between season 1 and season 2. So the line that went, the calls are coming in, you better start to grin, which was about his radio side, was changed to, you're raising them just fine regarding the kids, but keep an open mind, because you never know just what they're going to say. So,
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
So, yeah, the theme song paints a beautiful picture as to what to expect, and it is a bit of an earworm, and it's just a darn shame the rest of the show wasn't as good as the theme. But this is sort of a commonality with NBC back in 1979. And, spoiler, we're going to be covering more shows from NBC in 1979 in the future. Not going to tell you which ones. You could probably guess.
You have an idea of what's coming.
Yeah, there's one that's probably right on the top of your head, and we're like...
Yeah,
we're way ahead. We're way ahead.
For it.
Yeah, just be patient. But, I shared with the gentleman earlier... The Friday night lineup for NBC on that premiere night, that January 26th of 1979, it started off with Different Strokes, which is a great show. It is a submission on our list, though, for a couple of reasons. And then after that was Brothers and Sisters, yet another submission, follow the trend here. And then at 9 o'clock you had Turnabout, guess what? Another submission. Then Hello Larry was at 9:30, and then 10 o'clock was Sweepstakes with Ed Burns. Spoiler, another submission. So yeah, if there's that many submissions, I think right there is like 5 or 6 submissions for one night. Yeah, NBC, there's something wrong there. But also on top of that, just those shows doing so bad within a month of the premiere, Hello Larry moved from 9:30 on Friday nights to 8:30 on Friday nights, which might actually say a lot about Brothers and Sisters and Turnabout, the two shows that got bumped from the schedule. And then actually you had Different Strokes, Hello Larry, then you had the Rockford Files, and then you had Sweepstakes again for a very short run. It didn't last much longer. So yeah, this is just like NBC in 1979 in a nutshell, at least among its nighttime offerings. Daytime it did significantly better, but again, that's another episode. And yeah, NBC almost went bankrupt, again, primarily over one show, which is a submission. And also Fred Silverman. I mean, it just almost killed the network.
Yeah,
but
let's talk about Fred Silverman for a second.
Okay, keep it clean.
Well, we know Fred Silverman had this history at CBS and ABC as this genius programming executive. And when he got to NBC in the late 70s, everyone thought, well, it's now going to be NBC's turn to get some of that Fred Silverman magic. And, well, his golden goose turned into a pumpkin very quick.
Well, I'm going to agree and disagree with you. Just last night, as a matter of fact, I was listening to a new to me podcast called Mobituaries, done by Mo Rocca.
Yes.
Very good podcast. I gotta say, it's a great podcast. I subscribed to it after I listened to this episode. And the episode, his episode this week had to do with the death of the country broadcasting system when CBS went all rural with Hee Haw and Green Acres and Petticoat Junction and Beverly Hillbillies and Andy Griffith and Gomer Pyle and Mayberry RFD, all those rural shows. And who's the person who canceled all those shows?
Fred Silverman.
Fred Silverman. And yeah, I could understand partially, why it was done. I mean, you're reaching out at the time to the rural people who at the time would have just started getting television or getting access to television. I get that, and that would be something that interests them. But also in another way, you're killing the golden goose kind of sort of, because Beverly Hillbillies had been on for a good, at that point, 7 years or so, and Green Acres had been on 5 or 6 years, and Petticoat Junction had been on for just about as long, and Hee Haw had only been on for about, I think, 2 or 3 years at that point. And of course, Hee Haw found future life in syndication. And if I remember correctly, I think Hee Haw might be on our list in some capacity.
I think the Hee Haw Honeys are on the list.
Hee Haw Honeys, that's what it is, yes. Yeah. But still, Hee Haw had lived on for darn close to 20 years longer in syndication, and even now, in 2019, on the verge of being 2020, you can still see Hee Haw reruns on RFD television. Albeit, I think they're older reruns. I think from the late 80s and mid 80s. They're not going back to the 70s or anything like that. But still, it has some popularity.
Hey, as long as I get to see Victoria Holman, all good.
We know, Greg. We know. Calm down. But also at the same time, Fred Silverman, he did bring good things to ABC. Yeah, he did bring aboard Love Boat. And
Three's Company.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Welcome back, Cotter. He would have been there, I believe, around the time Happy Days started.
Yeah, Happy Days started 74, 75.
74, right. So yeah, I'm more focusing on Love Boat, which sort of is sort of a foreshadowing to a future episode or two. We're not going to get into it, but yeah, he did bring these very big shows. He was in control when ABC really had a superstar lineup. Mork and Mindy would have been probably right at the end of his tenure. That would have been about 78 or so.
Yes, 78.
Yeah. So, yeah, so he did well there. CBS, I mean, admittedly, if you think about it, even though he killed off the rural shows, what did he put in its place in like 70, 71? All in the Family, which then sprung onto the Jeffersons and Good Times and Maude. And I mean, that's like the 70s right there in a nutshell. That's like Norman Lear's 1970s. All in the Family, Maude, Good Times, Jeffersons. I mean, that's. I mean, if that was all that Fred Silverman did at CBS, that would be huge. But also, you've got MASH. And I'm trying to think what else he would have had on CBS. Well, CBS would have been Kojak, I believe.
Yes.
And that ran from the like mid 70s till I want to say about 78 or so, 77, 78. So yeah, so Fred Silverman did good at CBS. He did good at ABC. He comes to NBC with these grand plans, and he just absolutely poops the bed. And Fred Silverman was still getting work. I mean, even 20 years ago, he was, I think, one of the minds behind 21, or at least he was associated with 21 in some way.
Yeah, his production company was behind 21.
And, also, spoiler, another submission.
So many spoilers. Get on with it, Mike.
Well, look at the connections here. All these things have to do with Fred Silverman, and they're all these submissions we're going to cover in the future. But yeah, so it just, I just think NBC and Fred Silverman is bad luck. Don't put them together. They're like oil and water. They just don't mix.
Unless it's Matt Locke.
Or In the Heat of the Night.
Okay, good points, but still, I mean, that's 2 shows, and we've got, I mean, just like 5 or 6 that we just mentioned that are busts, and that's only just from winter of '79. There's other busts from '80 we could talk about. Oh, and again, we will, but moving on.
But yeah, you mentioned it moved from Friday at 9:30 to Friday at 8:30. And it stayed there. And it stayed there. Until episode 7 of season 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can finish it.
It moved to Wednesday at 9:30.
Along with Different Strokes. Different Strokes made the move as well. So they kept the Different Strokes and Hello Larry combo together. And technically, Hello Larry's not a spin-off of Different Strokes. They're sort of adjacent. I think that would be the best way of phrasing it. Because there were crossover episodes. There were actually 3 crossover episodes where the cast of Hello Larry went to Different Strokes and vice versa. One of them had to do with Mr. Drummond was going to buy the TV, or not the TV station. Mr. Drummond was going to buy the radio station. And so he went up and visited his friend Larry Alder, and Phil Drummond was considering downsizing the station. And then in season 2, the Drummond family actually welcomed the Alders to New York City because Larry was auditioning for his own television talk show there. And that was another crossover episode with the Different Strokes. And actually, all these episodes of Hello Larry that we're talking about are actually within the Different Strokes syndication package. So if there's reruns anywhere, I know there used to be some on one of the Stars channels, I believe. Maybe it's at MeTV or Antenna TV. But yeah, it's entirely possible you could see these pop up in reruns on those shows. And then the third episode, the Alders go back to New York City again. Larry tries pitching the sale of a TV station he wants to manage to Philip Drummond's company. So there's a lot going on there, and it's I really want to find these episodes now. I really want to see how they interact, because Different Strokes, I mean, I think is one of the best sitcoms of the 70s and early to mid 80s. It's one of my favorites growing up. And Hello Larry's one I just don't remember. You two wouldn't have been born yet, and I would have been all of about 4 when it aired, 4 or 5. So I just don't remember seeing it. And don't even remember the theme song, and usually I am a magnet for those types of things. So now, the cast. Now, we mentioned that Larry Alder was played by the one and only McLean Stevenson. He of the McLean Stevenson Show. He of leaving MASH after the 3rd season.
He of In the Beginning.
In the Beginning. Dirty Dancing. Condo.
The final season of the 70s era match game.
Final season of the 70s. Yeah, well, actually at that point, early 80s syndicated match game. So yeah, McLean Stevenson, who's sort of like a poster boy for bad shows. He was Larry Alder, the main character. And then Diane Alder, one of his daughters in season 1 was played by Donna Wilkes. But then in season 2 was played by Krista Erickson. So changing daughters mid-season, that's something. And then the other daughter, Ruthie, was played by Kim Richards, whose name you may recognize. She's one of the housewives of Beverly Hills. Also, if you've seen the meme of the woman yelling at the cat, I mean, who doesn't love that meme, first off? But
I
if
love
you've
that
seen that,
meme.
oh, that meme is so good. She's the sister of the woman in that meme who's holding back the woman that's screaming.
That's Carl Richards screaming at the woman!
So that's who Kim Richards is, if you aren't entirely familiar with her. And then you had Joanna Gleason, daughter of Monty Hall, by the way, who played Morgan Winslow, who was the producer of the show, of the radio show. And then you had George Mamoli, who was Earl, who played sort of the bumbling, goofy engineer. If anything, I think he's more known, at least on this show. He was a big guy. I mean, he must have been pushing at least 400 to 450 pounds. He was a very big guy. And then season 2, there were some cast changes. We mentioned Diane Alders being played by a different person. But also the focus switched more from Larry's radio life to his home life. And we then got one of his neighbors, Leona Wilson, played by Ruth Brown. We also got Larry's dad, Henry, who was played by Fred Stuffman. And there was a neighbor kid. I can't remember the neighbor kid's name.
His neighbor kid is Tommy.
Of
Tommy.
course. Another Tommy, of course.
I'm sure it's not Tammy like last time.
No, it's Tommy.
Okay.
And Tommy was played by John Famia, and he was like the little pain in the ass neighborhood kid you just wanted to like secretly just like pop over the head when he does something stupid. I mean, I did not like him on the episode that I saw. And the thing is, speaking of the episodes, there's only 2 out there.
Yeah.
There's a season 1 episode and a season 2 episode, so we can sort of compare and contrast the 2 seasons that way. But yeah.
Oh, by the way, to give you sort of a mental picture, imagine Tommy is the Steve Urkel to Ruthie's Laura Winslow.
That's actually a good comparison. I like that. Except I don't think that Steve Urkel was ever as annoying as this kid.
Yes, he was.
well, maybe my threshold of pain with Steve Urkel was a little higher than yours, but Tommy I found to be very annoying. And then actually Tommy also, if the name doesn't ring a bell, John Famia, he actually ended up on another possible future submission, Square Pegs.
Oh.
Yeah, I was actually just within the last week or so watching some opens from 80 shows, and here's Square Pegs, and I see the name John Famia. It's like, oh my gosh, that's the annoying little brat from season 2 of Hello Larry. So at least he went on to do something else besides the second season of Hello Larry.
Hell, he shared a stage with Sarah Jessica Parker. We should all be so lucky.
So yeah, as I said earlier, in season 1, the show, even though it didn't totally focus on Larry's work life, there was still time at the radio station, but still a lot of the episodes were devoted to his relationship with his family. And then season 2 was pretty much your standard sitcom fare in terms of family sitcom.
Oh, wait. Mike.
Whoa, yes.
You forgot one really big, or I should say one really tall character in season 2.
Oh, I did. And yes,
in the most meta casting.
He's not as tall as McLean Stevenson, though. So he's not that tall.
Yes, I just realized. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
We just totally blew off Meadowlark Lemon. Yeah,
Yep.
Meadowlark Lemon, the Harlem Globetrotter, played himself as a series, and he was a sporting goods store owner. And I can't say anything about him because he wasn't in that season 2 episode that's online. So I don't know what he brought to the festivities besides the Meadowlark Lemon name. Here's a celebrity.
The occasional basketball trick. I think that was contractually stipulated that he do one of that per episode. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe he every episode dumped a bucket of confetti on McLean Stevenson. Who knows? Yeah, he probably did something very Harlem Globetrotter-ish. That it just reminds me now that you say that. Again, another thing I just ran into probably about a month ago or so was when Meadowlark Lemon was the guest star on OK Boomer. Or not OK Boomer.
I wish that.
OK Boomer. Oh my gosh.
The show we all wished was real.
Oh my gosh. Here's Boomer. I'm sorry. Though I'd love to see a show called OK Boomer. Oh my god.
You never know. It could be on the CBS fall schedule. You never know.
So yeah, here's Boomer. Oh my gosh. Another future submission by the So apparently in the early 80s, Meadowlark Lemon was making the rounds, doing guest appearances on on TV shows and sitcoms. And I mean, he would have been probably, I'm guessing, mid 40s, late 40s, early 50s at the time. So he probably maybe outlived his lifespan being a Harlem Globetrotter.
Yeah, he was in his mid to late 40s.
Yeah. And so, as we said, the show changed its focus from Larry's work life to his home life in season 2. And going through the episodes, and we're not going to go episode by episode, but and at least comment, because we can't really comment about the episodes since we really haven't seen them. But starting with episode 1 in 79, Diane's boyfriend is putting pressure on her to go all the way. Okay, that sounds like typical teenage fare. I mean, whether it's 1979 or 2019. Episode 2, Ruthie is rejected at school by her friends as they learn her dad is a local outspoken talk show host. So obviously that tells us that Larry was very controversial on the air. Well, I mean, it's in the theme song. We mentioned that earlier. The calls are coming in, you better start to grin because you just never know what they're going to say. And the questions they're asking aren't that breezy. The answers you're given don't always pay, but that's the way it is with kids today. So, yeah, I mean, Larry was, to say the least, a little controversial. Episode 3, this actually we haven't even mentioned at this point. The key thing to take out of this show is Larry was raising his daughters. We haven't mentioned anything about a wife. He actually was divorced from his wife. And his ex-wife makes appearances in season 2. We'll get to that momentarily. And the ex-wife was played by Shelley Fabares, who you would know better from Coach. So, episode 3, Larry receives his final divorce papers, and struggles with his and the girl's emotions, reacting to the official end of his marriage. So, I mean, there's a semi-serious topic there. That, like I said, it's really sort of like a microcosm of stuff that you would have seen in the 70s and early 80s. I mean, I know divorces weren't terribly popular or maybe even kind of forbidden until maybe the early 70s or late 60s. But yeah, I mean, this is a reality now. Divorces, and I'm talking about now, not just 2019, but in 1979, divorce was a real thing. Episode 4, homesick Diane begins to miss her boyfriend in LA, so she decides to hitch her way back. Again, puppy love. Diane and Ruthie begin to miss their mom, and Morgan helps fill the void.
Now here's a sort of episode that you pretty much want to see coming because, again, here's a female character, here are two kids, they're missing their mom, Morgan, the producer, she could be the mom. It just makes sense.
And again, there's a sense of realism there. That's a real thing that happens when with a divorced family. So, like I said, it's almost sounding like it's coming off like a drama. There's a lot of very realistic plot lines here. I mean, this isn't just a dopey comedy.
You know, it's one of those smart comedies that come out of the age because if you look at look at the credits, guess what else they did? They did One Day at a Time for CBS.
Yes, they did. Similar circumstances, but let's just change the role a little bit. Instead of, Larry and his daughters moving to Portland, you have Alice and her son moving to Arizona. Oh, just made a
Oh.
there. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting parallel you mentioned there. Episode 6, Ruthie and her friend Eric develop a case of puppy love. Oh, there's a phrase that I just mentioned, puppy love, and aren't sure how to react. Episode 7, recently divorced Larry goes on a date with Morgan's sister, much to Morgan's worry. Don't tell us, yeah, we haven't been there. Here, I'm going to hook you up with my best friend or my sister, and you guys can go on a date. We know how that usually ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not from experience, though. We can't, not
I'm the mayor of beautiful downtown there. Thank you very much.
Oh, jeez. Episode 8, it's feared that Diane is on uppers when Larry finds them in her purse.
Wow, that seems like a plot from a 2019 episode. Seems very timely.
I mean, I think it's one of those things that's almost timeless because, how many times have we seen episodes where, little Billy's got drugs? I mean, going back to Different Strokes, there was an episode where they had the president's wife on saying, "Don't do drugs." So, yeah, it sounds like just another plot line, which, again, has a sense of realism to it because it's definitely not fake. That's, especially nowadays, given the opioid crises. Yeah, absolutely. Episode 9, New Tenant Leona moves into Larry's building and aids his daughters but angers him. And then episode 10 is actually where the Drummonds come to Portland and Philip Drummond is considering downsizing Larry's station. So there's that first crossover with Different Strokes. And actually, that would have, I'm going to just make an assumption here. Since this was called The Trip Part 2, I would assume The Trip Part 1 aired half an hour earlier, since Different Strokes was the lead-in.
As an episode of Different Strokes, yeah.
Right, so that's a nice little way to connect the gap there. I like that. Episode 11, before a party at the Alders, Ruthie's boyfriend Eric gets a crush on Diane. Uh-oh. Episode 12, the girls compete to see which one takes better care of their sick father. Episode 13, Ruthie gets to do her own talk show for a school project. She uses Larry's radio show airtime. Okay, well, there's something that you don't generally see on that isn't a boilerplate sitcom plot. That's actually kind of interesting. I heard an ooh from Greg. Did you want to say something?
No, I just think that's amazing. Ruthie has her own takes her dad's airtime. It's Take Your Daughter to Work Day on the radio.
And the final episode of season 1, Diane catches Ruthie stealing. Again, another timeless episode. Because that hasn't been done 20,000 times before or since.
Not even.
And the one episode that actually is online on YouTube from season 1 is Ruthie's First Crush.
Aww.
Which is episode 6, the one where her and Eric get a case of puppy love and aren't sure how to react. So then we come back with season 2. And the first episode is, again, a crossover with Different Strokes. The Drummond family welcomes the Alders to New York City as Larry auditions there for a TV talk show. And again, the different strokes, presumably from that night. And actually, since this was September of '79 and it's the season premiere, I'm sure NBC was boosting this like all over the place. Oh, well, it's different strokes, and then we're going to have the different strokes cast come on Hello, Larry. It's going to be an hour you want to watch. And then a 2-part episode. And apparently this aired the same night. Diane, thinking Ruthie is too much of a tomboy, convinces Ruthie to go to a school dance with a nice boy her own age. But during that date, Ruthie develops a crush on Cubby, a slick-talking 17-year-old young man who intends to make the inexperienced younger girl his next conquest.
Oh, dear.
Oh, this isn't going to end well.
After inviting Cubby over without Larry's permission, Ruthie must swiftly learn how to deal with Cubby and his more grown-up intentions toward her.
Oh, somebody's going to get their ass whooped.
Yeah, like you guys said, this isn't going to end well. I don't think you want to make McLean Stevenson upset.
He was in Korea. Come on now.
Well, as the lyrics said in season 2, you're raising them just fine, but keep an open mind. But that's the way it is with kids today.
Oh, for the love of God, no!
I went there. You've got to keep an open mind, Larry, but that's the way it is with kids in the late 70s. Okay, here's where the ex-wife comes into play. Larry's ex-wife, Marion, comes to visit while Larry has to leave town with Morgan on a business trip. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Marion was played by Shelley Fabares. And then this actually is a 2-part episode. The next week, Ruthie keeps hoping her parents will get back together and tries much persuasion. Larry and Marion go out and have an interesting evening. And again, that's been done before where they separate, at least on other TV shows, temporarily separate, contemplate divorcing, but then, I miss the big guy. I mean, specifically, the thing that comes to my mind is there was a 3-part episode on the last season of Married with Children, which did just about this exact same thing. Oh, by the way, the final season of Married with Children is a future submission.
Oh.
Let's just get all our submissions out here in one way or another. But yeah, Alan and Peg Bundy, they went to a therapist, decided that they were going to split. Al lived on his own, was very bored, lived in this shabby apartment, and Peg was very... she was missing the big guy. She was missing Al, and she actually went on a date with somebody. And Greg, you won't believe who she went on a date with.
McLean Stevenson.
Well, not the character name, but the actor name. Not McLean Stevenson. I think McLean might have been dead by then.
He was already dead by the last season of Married with Children.
Oh, Greg. Yeah, the person I'm talking about?
Oh.
Alan Thicke!
Oh, yes, I'm me, Alan Thicke, and I'm gonna be dating Peggy Bundy. Hey.
Yeah. I knew Greg would like that. Then goodbye, Marion. Larry and Marion announced they're getting remarried. However, they run into problems on where they will live and where they'll work, because Marion is in L.A. and Larry's in Portland, and Portland's
a long way from LA, yeah. We went over this already.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's right there in the theme song, for heaven's sakes. Episode 21, Larry, looking for extra work, gets an offer to host a nude beauty pageant, but the catch is he has to be nude, too.
Oh, no.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
I don't want to think of McLean Stevenson naked. No. Why do you have to put that thought in my head, Mike? Why?
Hey, blame NBC 40 years ago. It's not my fault. I'm just the messenger.
This was NBC in 1980. They needed the ratings.
Right. Even a naked McLean Stevenson will get ratings somehow. Episode 22, Morgan becomes Larry's boss, and Larry is jealous of her new position and promotion. Okay, that, again, is very realistic. You know, somebody gets a promotion, and there's some level of jealousy. Episode 23, Marion's new fiancé comes to visit, and he mentions that he and Marion are going to get shared custody of the girls. Again, serious issue back in the 70s with split families and divorces and all that.
Yep.
Episode 24, another crossover with different strokes. The Alders go to New York City one more time as Larry tries to pitch the sale of a television station he wants to manage to Phil Drummond's company. And again, that's within the Different Strokes syndication package. Episode 25, huge troubles arise when Diane develops a big drinking problem. Again, reality. That's something that's true to life. 26, Tommy has to move in temporarily with the Alders while his mother's away. Oh, I feel bad for you, Larry. You got to deal with all
this. I bet some wacky shenanigans happen. Oh,
you know hilarity ensued. Absolutely. Episode 27. Now, here's where we get to meet Larry's father. Larry's father moves in, and against Larry's wishes, he gives Diane money to buy a car. Episode 28. What? I'm sorry?
Wait, what?
Larry's
wishes.
Larry's father moves in, and against Larry's wishes, he gives Diane money to buy a car. Does that not sound like every grandparent you've ever known?
Yes, if my grandma, grandpa gave me money to buy a car, I'd be like, thank you.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I understand what you're saying. If you're the parent, if you're in the Larry position at this point, you'd be like, hey, you know what? She wants a car. You just saved me $2,000 or however much a beater would have cost back in 1979, 1980.
Also, McLean Stevenson's character of Larry, how much money is he making at this radio station?
I have no idea. But
he can't afford to.
He can't afford to
give his daughter. He can't afford to give his daughter a used car in 1979. What the hell?
He can't afford a Datsun. But I thought everybody could afford a Datsun.
Yeah, I mean, Ford Pintos were like, new. They probably weren't much more than about $4,000 or $5,000, and I say that from experience. Yeah, we had one in the family. Episode 28, Larry's ex-wife Marion sends another money thing. Larry's ex-wife Marion sends a sizable check to help him buy a house for his daughters, and in the process, it changes Larry's pride. So now, wait. He couldn't buy a car for his daughter, or at least his father was going to buy the car. Now the next episode, the ex-wife sends money to him to buy a house.
This must be a running gag about how notoriously cheap Larry must be.
Oh, jeez.
I think you might be right. Episode 29, and this is the season 2 episode, and this is on Vimeo, if I remember correctly. Ruthie gets into a fight with her new piano teacher, who is very much disliked. He dies after their argument, and Ruthie feels responsible for his death.
And he probably must have been real old. His time was probably coming anyway.
Well, he was. I think I'm pretty. Well, I think actually showed us the episode. Yeah, he was an older gentleman. But I mean, of all the episodes that could be online, this is the one we get. I mean, we have all this about the ex-wife and going to New York for the radio station and the TV talk show and the crossovers and whatnot, and all the relationship issues that the daughters are having, and we get the piano teacher who lives in the same apartment complex. He's a pain in the butt, and he dies, and he's sitting there in rigor mortis on the recliner, and Ruthie doesn't she doesn't just feel responsible for his death. She doesn't know what to do. So I mean, they put like a tarp over him or a blanket, and we got to hide the body because we're going to be arrested for murder or something like that. Like I said, if there was any other episode online, I would have loved to see it. But this is the one we got. And we just got to work with what we have available.
Yes, just like how we unfortunately didn't have any Mr. Smith to work with.
Oh, but we had fun doing that.
Yeah, we did.
Episode 30, Morgan's blind nephew gets a sympathetic Ruthie to be his date.
Aww.
Yeah, it sounds like pity date there.
Yeah, pretty much.
31.
Well, it was with Kim Richards. So draw your own conclusion.
He was still blind.
Oh,
Episode what? What? Am I wrong?
No.
Episode 31. Larry meets a female tenant who happens to be Tommy's mother in his building's laundry room, and things get very serious. Wow, chicka, wow, wow.
Oh God! Next episode.
This is actually a 3-part episode. Larry's midlife crisis. Larry uses his radio show to protest destruction of a local hotel housing senior citizens. He then ends up in jail and is fired from his radio job.
No!
Uh-oh.
Well, I think we've seen this in the past in some other episodes, other shows, but in different ways. Because I remember it may have been just a 1-part episode, maybe a 2-part episode of Night Court, where Bull didn't want a theater to be destroyed, and he actually chained himself to the theater, and ultimately what happened is the theater got saved because the whole gang at Night Court acquired enough proxies of the shares of the stocks to basically say, no, we're not going to destruct this historic theater.
That's the plot of UHF, dude.
No, but UHF involved a television station. That's different.
And then part 2, Larry seeks new job offers after the loss of his radio job. And then part 3, Morgan also finds herself jobless. And Larry confronts the station's boss's son in order to at least try to get her job back at the radio station. Then episodes 35 and 36, a 2-part episode. So we went from a 3-parter to a 2-parter. Ruthie wants to go to a big concert, but it is sold out. Luckily, her DJ father, I don't know if I'd call him a DJ, but okay, her DJ father helped give the young man his first break on the radio back in L.A. Larry takes the girls to see the singer Kurt Stone in his hotel, but later on, after Larry says no to Diane, she decides to run away from home to visit the rock star in San Francisco. What is it with these girls running away? One of them tried to run away back to L.A. to visit her long-lost boyfriend, and now, this time, one of the daughters tries to run away to San Francisco to be with this rock star.
I guess the daughters don't want to be... That's the way it is with kids today. They don't want to be near McLean Stevenson that much.
Oh, God!
Now, I just wonder if all these actors and actresses realize that Hello, Larry's such a dog. They're trying to do anything to get off the show. I'm going to San Francisco whether you like it or not!
Oh, boy.
Part 2, having run away to see rock star Kurt Stone in San Francisco, Diane must make a very important decision. She must choose between her new love and her family. Like we all haven't been there at some point. Second to last episode. Yay! Tommy asks Larry for advice on women. Okay, I'm done right after saying that. Tommy asks Larry...
This kid's asking me for advice on how to get women. I'm like, no, you're on your own. You're on your own, buddy.
Well, and now I read the second part. Soon, Tommy is in very serious trouble at school for kissing a girl in a broom closet.
Oh, boy.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag me too.
Oh, jeez. And then the last episode of the series, Morgan's new secretary dates Larry's father, and it soon seems that marriage is in their plans.
You know what? That's a good point to stop.
That's a very good point to stop. Now, okay, we've gone through the episodes, and we did see a lot of realism in there, especially with the girls' relationships, the teenage issues. Let's admit it, and not just with the daughters. We just said the second to last episode, Tommy was asking for relationship advice or love advice from Larry. Don't tell me that boys haven't done that in the past. We've all had talks with our father, grandfather, or somebody we trust saying, Can you tell me about the birds and the bees? So again, there's a lot of reality there. So what really killed the show? Now, I've got 5 possible answers here, and we're going to go through them one by one. Ratings. I'm going to say probably not ratings, and I'm going to tell you why. It did start off low. It was in the 50s for the first part of the run. But then, right near cancellation, within the last 2 to 3 months, its ratings got better, presumably because of Different Strokes. And actually, within about 2 weeks of its cancellation, it peaked at number 31. 31 shows out of 69.
Nice.
I was waiting for that. So, and some of the shows that Hello Larry beat that week, listen to these shows. These are, some long-running shows, some very successful shows. Hello Larry was at 31. Quincy, Quincy was on NBC. It wouldn't have been, I don't think it was on Wednesday nights at that point. But Quincy, The Love Boat, which we mentioned earlier, Fantasy Island, and oh, by the way, those were 32, 33, and 34 respectively. So they were all right below Hello Larry. And then you had Barney Miller, WKRP in Cincinnati, The Rockford Files, which admittedly that was the last season of The Rockford Files. It was probably running on empty at that point. And a reasonably new sitcom at that time called The Facts of Life. So I don't think the ratings actually got better as time went on, so I don't think it was ratings that killed it. The writing.
Oh, boy. The writing.
Yes.
The writing was very hackneyed. Actually, to say the writing was hackneyed would be a compliment. It basically took every sort of, we had the serial comedy element, and at the same time we had every sort of sitcom trope in the book.
Well, also about the writing, and this is something I showed to both Chico and Greg a couple of days before we recorded this episode. One thing I found during my searching for information on Hello Larry is I found an installment of the comic John Darling. And it looks like it was done by Tom Batuick, who is the person behind Funky Winker Bean and Crankshaft. And then somebody by the name of Armstrong, who rings a bell, but I don't know, I can't really put his name to a certain comic strip. The comic strip is about the government bailout of NBC. So, Senator Vail, what's your position on the government bailout of NBC? As you know, I've always been an advocate of the free enterprise system, but if we allow NBC to go under, thousands of people lose their jobs. And even with massive government retraining programs, I doubt if we could find work for the writers of Hello Larry.
Oh.
That was a comic strip posted on May 24th of 1980. So even comics were making fun of Hello Larry at this time. And the rating was pretty weak. So I think that's our forerunner for why Hello Larry got canceled or is in such a disliking. McLean Stevenson. Honestly, I didn't have any issues with McLean Stevenson here. I thought he did a good job as a father, a good job as playing his role as a talk show host on the radio. I have no complaints about McLean Stevenson here. What about you guys?
No, I think he gave his all in this series.
I really think he did. You may not be able to say that about a lot of things that McLean Stevenson did after MASH, but I really think since he was the lead here, he really did try his best.
And considering this was his third attempt at a series post-MASH, I really think he was trying his best. God knows, I don't need another canceled series. I don't need it to be 3. And to the credit, it did get a second season.
It did get a second season. Like I just mentioned, the ratings were good enough at the end that maybe it could have gotten a third season, but apparently the folks at NBC said no. What about the changes that we mentioned earlier? The whole shift from season 1 being more or less about the radio station to then season 2, it's more of a family type of, or not necessarily family type of atmosphere, but more of a a look at his home life, more like a traditional sitcom.
Yeah, it didn't really seem to vibe. I mean, it seemed like they were making a hard left back into, oh look, it's a family sitcom, right after it trying to be, the next family sitcom, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you do a sudden format change, I mean, they didn't change the entire format, but again, there was so much change. There were characters being added. You had Larry's father being added. You had Tommy, the annoying neighbor kid, being added. You're almost saying at that point, well, we screwed up in the to begin with focusing on the radio aspect. And then finally, could it have been the equally bad shows surrounding Hello Larry? Now, mind you, like I said earlier, you had Brothers and Sisters with Hello Larry. That got canned well before Hello Larry. You had Turnabout, which didn't even last, I think, more than 6 episodes. That got the can before Hello Larry. You had Sweepstakes, which I think lasted 9 episodes, and that got the can. And then ultimately, like I said, it moved to Wednesday nights on NBC, and it had the perfect lead-in. And like I said, it was not just with another series or a good series. It was like a technically adjacent series, not a spin-off, but one that sort of intermeshed their characters.
You can tell they really tried to make this show a hit with the crossovers with different strokes.
Absolutely. So I think in the end we're going to say that what killed the show was bad writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if you had a much better writing staff, this show probably would have gone on for like at least 5 or 6 seasons.
So I think if we're going to put it in order, bad writing is number 1. The changes from season 1 to season 2 might be number 2. Maybe tied with that would be the bad shows surrounding Hello Larry, but still, those shows died. It lived on. It went on to Wednesdays with different strokes. But then at the absolute bottom is probably ratings and McLean Stevenson, because the ratings were going up and McLean Stevenson was very serviceable.
Yeah, you almost have to blame the writing. I mean, you don't make it onto TV Guide's 50 worst shows of all time with good writing.
Well, you're right about that, but also at the same point, you've got McLean Stevenson sort of being in the same breath as Ted McGinley as somebody who kills TV shows when, he just took the job and he might have tried his best, but it's just coincidence that, Dirty Dancing didn't work as a TV show, another future entry, or Condo didn't work as a TV show, not an entry yet, but I'm going to submit it. So I think we've gone through about 15 different submissions this episode.
Yeah,
but
I just think it's bad luck with McLean Stevenson with some of these shows. I mean, if McLean Stevenson was an actor, let's say in today's media landscape with streaming shows and everything, I guarantee you he'd be like on a Netflix show or a Prime show or on Hulu or something, and that could probably last 3. Where they don't necessarily have to care about ratings or anything.
Right.
Yeah, except Ted McGinley was actually on a show on Netflix. Future Submission, by the way.
Which show would
another one? Oh my god.
Which show would this be?
No Good Nick.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we mentioned that one, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously it wouldn't be the Richie Rich 2015 reboot.
No. Possible future entry.
Yeah, I think we're going to get about 20 future entries by the time we're done.
Oh, jeez. Can we move on?
Yeah, the last thing I want to mention, and we've talked about this with other episodes, what about it possibly popping up on a streaming service or on DVD? It's owned by Sony, and Sony does have Crackle, and they've had worse shows on Crackle than Hello Larry, I would say. I mean, I just went on there within the last few nights, and I saw what they had, and it's like, There's a lot of junk here. So, might it end up on... Well, I mean, anything's possible. It could end up on a streaming service. I'd love to see it. Or even DVD. Yeah, worse shows have been on both formats.
And Mill Creek has been putting out a lot of Sony stuff, so that would be perfect for Mill Creek to put out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. And honestly, and I told both of you guys this earlier, when I first looked at the episodes and what their plot lines were, I was actually very intrigued to see these episodes. Not necessarily for the comedy, but I mean, you see the development of these characters. You see the growing up of the teenagers and their life struggles and the struggles, not just of being teenagers, but also having parents that are separated and having crushes and just usual teenage stuff. It actually intrigued me a ton. So yeah, I do actually agree with you, Greg. I think this is one of those shows that would be perfect by like Mill Creek or some little distributor. I mean, I don't know what type of deal Shout has with Sony, but yeah, it's one of those operations would be absolutely perfect for this.
Or even better, since they did it with One Day at a Time, let's do the 2019 gritty reboot of this on Netflix. No? Okay.
Gritty is Hello Larry. Hello Gritty. Hello Gritty. No.
Oh my God! Gritty as the dad with like his two gritty looking children.
And on that note,
oh God. So yeah, Hello Larry with McLean Stevenson and a future Real Housewife. It was a thing on TV.
It was a thing on TV for about a year and a half. As always, you can find us at one place. Type into your browser www.itwasathingontv.com. That'll take you to the podcast page. That'll link you to all our social media. We got an email address. You can email us. Let us know your suggestions, feedback, what have you. Until later this week when we're going to have a very special episode. Not going to talk about it, but it's going to be one you want to listen to. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. Maybe even more fun than we had with this episode. I want to thank Chico for his contributions as always, Greg for his contributions as always, and I'm Mike Klaus, and we will talk to you soon on the next episode of It Was a Thing on TV. Bye-bye. Well, hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
You talk to people all day for a living.
Hello, Larry.
But all those easy answers you're giving, are you really living your life that way? Portland is a long way from L.A.
A long
way.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Two kids to raise alone just ain't that easy.
Hello, Larry.
The questions they are asking aren't that breezy. The answers you are given don't always pay. But that's the way it is with kids today. The calls are coming in, you better start to grin, 'cause you never know just what they're gonna say.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Hello, Larry.
Well, hello, Larry.
Wow! Hello, Larry.
Perfect.